and economic cooperation. I would like to emphasize that the technical sessions were participated by a very large audience and the subjects discussed were really rich in context. Now we will hear the outcomes. I would like to give the floor, first of all, to Mr. Yunus Arıkan to share the outcomes of the cooperation and climate action sessions. Mr. Arıkan works specifically for local governments and their sustainability projects. The floor is yours.
Duygu Hanım, çok teşekkürler.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I'd like to extend my thanks to all the employees of the municipality, especially Mr. İmamoğlu. I'd like to extend them my thanks because they have given us the opportunity to present our findings. So I will be continuing in English, and the interpreters will be interpreting into Turkish.
The results of our discussions we had yesterday, as Mr. Demirel has mentioned, it was really a full house of participation. It was very active. We even had contributions from Istanbul, residents of Istanbul, from scientific communities, from the youth community. So I think that was really a very nice atmosphere. And on that occasion, I'd like to congratulate all the participants, as well as Istanbul Planning Agency for their support in the management and the design of this process. What we have discussed is on climate emergency. That's what we said. It's beyond climate action. We have to address this issue as a climate emergency. We have discussed the latest scientific findings. I remember Mayor was referring to a number of times the science. So we have discussed the latest frightening figures on the warming and potential damages that could be expected in our cities. We also addressed the weakness of the national commitment. That is already another challenge, so that it's not a very safe future that we are expecting ourselves, and the national processes, national contributions are not enough. What we also have addressed the opportunities, especially 2 weeks ago, the climate conference in Glasgow was concluded. There was a decision. One of the main elements was recognizing the urgency of multi-level and cooperative action, which is opening huge doors for us. The time for multi-level action has come, and that, of course, brings a lot of responsibilities for us. Multi-level was particularly interesting because those who were in the room today, you heard from Mr. Tekeli also, he have emphasized multi-level collaboration as the road for future. We also addressed the opportunities for global politics. The world is trying to emerge in cooperation. Social changes, technological changes, which are the opportunities, phasing out of coal, electricity, electrification of our mobility, the internet technologies. So these are the opportunities that we can be much more hopeful and much more active if the political will is there. In that sense, our discussion was based on a format that was practiced by the climate community a couple of years ago. The Fijian government was the host of the climate dialogues, and they have proposed a model of Talanoa dialogue. We have made these meetings in 40 cities, 60 cities around the world in 2018. So we announced our discussion as the Talanoa dialogue of the Balkan cities. And the format we have addressed was that, where are we? Where do we want to go, and how can the B40 network can help the cities? So the potential solutions we have addressed on 3 basic headings. The one was local action, the individual actions at the local level. The second one was national and European-wide strategies, which is a bit more collective. And the third chapter we addressed was global, how we can engage ourselves with the UN climate change processes. In that sense, the local action for individuals, what we have addressed is that raising awareness on the facts and the realities of the information, how this impacts us, is some of the most important urgency, that we bring our stakeholders into the process. We have to brief them about the information about science and data, and in order to bring their contributions and commitments to the process. We listened the day before, Mayor of Tirana, he mentioned about the biggest fight is against ignorance. So we said that at the local level, the biggest element is that raising awareness and community and youth engagement. We also discussed in Glasgow, actually, there is a decision to invite parties to work with the youth in local decision-making process. So that's also an additional opportunity for us. We made also discussions on climate emergency, the climate emergency declarations. The citizens who are on the streets, they can easily go to the councils, municipal councils. That can be an opportunity. And we also have addressed, it's, of course, finance is an important issue, but there were small changes which can introduce big impacts, especially on mobility, especially on changing of the habits. These are the things that the cities, the local governments do not need too much resources, but their communication with their citizens can make big impacts. At the national and European level, what we have addressed is that capacity building, holistic planning, not just dealing about only one building, but also holistically as an urban development, is an area that we have to prioritize, that we have to finish our plans as a priority. And sharing of experience. We have seen there are numerous cities in the region who have already completed some of their plans, but some who are just starting. So that's also important for us. We referred to Mayor of Athens, who said that we are the speedboats, but for speedboats, we need fuel and we need a direction. Without the fuel, without the direction, no speedboat can reach their goals. Therefore, making ourselves very well oriented to our goals is important. We have heard from Tirana, who has mentioned about 3 years ago they have completed their SECAP, the climate plans. Athens has been one of the cities who have assigned the first heat officer. Istanbul has been an important champion on 2050 targets, bringing race to zero, race to resilience, bringing these agendas to Turkey. So there are a lot of things we can learn from each other. And without these global commitments and citywide plans, it is impossible to expect major financing institutions to support our efforts. So this is also a chicken and egg. If we want to get money, if we want to reach resources, we have to be ready as well. At the global level, we have noticed that Balkan countries for so many years have also been a bit distant from the UN process. They have not been engaged too much actively. There are European countries, non-European countries, that they have not been too much putting this as a priority, and this also was one of the reasons why our cities do not have paid too much attention to the climate action at the local level. But we are saying that it is now time to address this as an innovative agenda, and we have mentioned that Mayor of, once again, Veriaj was mentioning about the Balkanization, redefining the Balkanization. In the age of climate emergency, we could bring this hope to the process, and we referred, her şey çok güzel olacak was the slogan of our mayor. So this spirit, positive spirit now can go to Balkans and the world. In that sense, the next year, climate conference will be in Egypt, and this is an important opportunity because Balkan region, in a geographic sense, is a Mediterranean region. So climate conference coming to Mediterranean is an opportunity for our members, and we have asked, for example, none of the participants have attended any climate meetings before. So we said that one of the tasks of B40 could be to bring the voice of Balkans to the climate conference. This is particularly important because in Egypt, we are expecting to have discussions on food, climate emergency, urbanization. Last words, this would be a bit institutional and personal. On the institutional side, I'm representing an international network of cities. We have membership for more than 2,500 across the world and focusing on sustainability. One of the things where we noticed that Balkans is a black box for us. There are few regions where we don't have membership. Through our 2,500 membership, we can be happily working with the cities in the region. We can share our experience, lessons learned, and in that sense, ICLE, my organization, expressed full support to the future roadmap of the institutions. I have already addressed Mayor of Tirana, is our regional executive committee member of ICLE, and he could be a fantastic ambassador, a bridge to the Balkan cities. So we would be more than happy to help you in that regard. Institutionally, we also would like to express our support to B40 as a network, hopefully, if it is announced. We have been experiencing these kind of networks in the past, successes and failures. We are more than happy to share our experience. And we can also help you to connect to the global process. We are the focal points into this UN processes, and we would be more than happy to walk together this walk. And finally, I'm an expert from Turkey. I live in Germany since 2009 in international arena. This year is the 60th anniversary of the Turkish Gastarbeiter, the migration of the Turkish community to Germany. I'm a new generation at that sense. Over these years, I have been going through the Balkan route on the way back to home and Turkey and Germany. Some of the cities that I've been speaking here, I have been witnessing how things are evolving and how Balkan is the bridge really between Turkey, East, and West. So there were discussions about the past, but I also would like to talk about the future. The peace and solidarity in the climate emergency could be the main mission that we can expect from this community. Our mayors and leaders would definitely be addressing that. The Balkan region is also important for people like us. We have heard stories from Nazım Hikmet writing his poem from Varna. Cem Karaca was coming to Kos and just drinking his raki and thinking about his homeland. So the Balkan is really a glue that connects us. So in that sense, I'd like to welcome as a historic, visionary, innovative, and hopeful initiative of this community. Therefore, I'd like to welcome all of you into the global efforts. And if there's anything more we can do, we are more than happy to help you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Erkan. We put great importance on B40 network participants' emphasis on the significance of the cooperation on climate action and the climate urgency, as you can say. We will take the evolution later on, so thank you so much for joining us. Now I would like to give the floor to Dr. Emre Eren Korkmaz to share the outcomes of the Smart Cities and Digital Transformation session, as smart cities, not barely related with the having or buying the softwares, but also creating a strategy for it, which will be our main focus for today's outcome session. Thank you so much, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for organizing this important event, and I'm very happy to be here. And I'm also very happy to find out that our mayors from Athens and Skopje are the graduates of the University of Oxford. So yesterday we discussed smart cities and digital transformation. This is an important topic because the whole humanity is passing through a very important technological revolution. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, virtual reality, various digital technologies are changing our lives, and they provide great opportunities but also great challenges. So local authorities, municipalities should benefit from these opportunities, but they should also defend and protect their residents against the challenges. So when we talk about smart cities, I can categorize it into three main functions. The first is providing efficient services to residents, of course, from waste management to traffic management. And second category is to support people to join decision-making processes, so it's more inclusive, more democratic. Governance could be possible through innovative solutions. And thirdly, these are important to tackle global challenges such as climate change and migration. So these innovative solutions should be discussed, or the smart cities should be discussed in these three main categories. However, it is not simply buying or investing some software or cameras or sensors and deploy them in different corners of the society, of the city. This is not what we understand from smart cities. There should be clear strategies, guidelines, ethical and legal standards to how to invest in these smart cities and how to lead the digital transformation. These are very important because there are very important challenges here. Maybe I can underline 4 main challenges. The first is digital inequality. So this is very important because digitalization deepens the existing inequalities based on class, age, gender, and region. Therefore, providing digital skills to youth or, for example, sharing free Wi-Fi with the poor neighborhoods. These kind of investments are very important because, as you may imagine, some people can access to smartphones, they can benefit from virtual assistants, they can trade with cryptocurrencies, but for many people, internet is only login into Facebook page. So these people's expectations, social and political knowledge they have is changing. So the inequality deepens if there is no any intervention. The second problem is the fake news and hate speech type of manipulation. So if we are talking about peace and solidarity in the region, and if you want to stop discrimination based on ethnicity and religion, or or the hatred against refugees and migrants, we should take action against these fake news and hate speech, because people can be mobilized with these ideas against refugees, against minorities. So this is also an important topic that municipalities should take into account. Another main challenge is it's important to invest in smart cities, but we should not create a surveillance society. So protecting privacy of the residents is a very important topic. Also, municipalities should be very careful when they invest in some controversial technologies like facial recognition technologies. And lastly, the data protection. Data security is very important against cyber attacks, because people are trusting municipalities, they are sharing all their data with municipalities. So losing this data, or not being able to protect this data, might have additional problems for vulnerable communities. I also shared our experience with our ongoing project, University of Oxford's project with Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality. So Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality is developing blockchain-based digital identities for all residents. And so all the data collected by the municipality will be stored and accumulated in these digital identities. So our aim is to understand how these data could be used to support financial integration of disadvantaged communities like migrants and refugees, because they cannot prove their income, they cannot join to the financial system. So can we use the data sets of the municipality as an alternative data set to estimate their income and measure their credit scores. So this is a very important project, we believe. In yesterday's session, we agreed on that there is a need for further cooperation between the B40 cities to share experiences and learn from each other. It could be preparing strategy reports, guidelines, or discussing different aspects of the technologies. It can be possible to integrate systems. There can be some opportunities to co-produce some tools and cooperate in different aspects. So this technological progress is very rapid. So now we are discussing about metaverse or virtual reality. And for example, Seoul is the first country who started providing services in metaverse. So it will be very big privilege for us as researchers from Oxford to work with you to explore what we can do in these new areas to provide services. So, for example, B40 could have a pioneering role in promoting technologies as well. So we would be very happy to collaborate with all municipalities here. So in a nutshell, as I said, smart cities is not only related buying some software, it's the easiest part of it, but it's very important to understand the social and economic challenges that these technologies could bring, and it's important for municipalities to take action to protect their residents and particularly the residents in disadvantaged positions like migrants, refugees, women, and poor neighborhoods. These are important to, so it's not just only managing the traffic. This is of course an important part of the smart cities, but when we discuss smart cities and digital transformation in a general sense, we should think about these challenges and provide some guidelines and a route to people to upgrade their skills and getting ready for these new technologies. Thank you so much.
Dr. Korkmaz, we thank you so much. As a journalist, I realized that about the social changes that you mentioned, the hate speech, fake news, or the data security, I realized how important they are, but probably it's a theme for another summit, a huge summit it should be. Thank you so much for your contribution. Ladies and gentlemen, now I'd like to leave the floor to Professor Tarık Şengül from Middle East Technical University to present the outcomes of the session on economic cooperation for Balkan cities.
Okay, I thank you for the invitation, and it's an honor for me to be here with such a distinguished environment. Most of them are elected, really representatives of the cities. This is quite important. So on our part, we discussed the economic dimension, and one of the issues which raised during the meeting is this parallel to this multi-level governance, multi-level networks. So this is an important issue in the sense that there are various networks, geographical and otherwise, working together, and with regard to European Union and other regional activities here, the Balkan Cities Networks is not an alternative organization. Rather it provides an institutional thickness on top of the others, which creates opportunities in a geographical sense for the cities in the region. This is quite important to have this institutional thickness because geography is power. Geography is a resource, but geography at the same time is a vulnerability. In the sense that, when you look at all those climate issues, refugee problem, etc., so these are the, geographical problems in various sense, because these societies in the very same region in Balkans, for instance, face the refugee question altogether. So finding solutions together is quite important. If you want to create a better future for the societies and for also refugees, you have to get organized. Otherwise, you are missing an opportunity and getting the problems harder and harder to hit the local communities and create some hostilities. So for this reason, cooperation and coming together through the networks is also a task, not just a voluntary, really activity. So for this reason, it's quite important to use this resource as an opportunity for various issues. So when I say various issues, this is the second dimension in the sense that, actually 4 issues raised here, economic issues, climate change, smart cities, and also refugee question. So these are all interrelated and they all have economic dimensions. So when we face the refugee question, we face the economic difficulties, resources devoted for this, trying to create better conditions for the refugees, etc. So this creates also an economic climate as well. Likewise, fighting against the climate change or taking part in Green Deal requires some, really resources to be devoted to these areas. It will be a costly activity for dealing with the Green Deal issues because it will bring restrictions. And having these individually as cities, especially in the lack of national regulations, this is a basic problem in Turkey. Cities are left a little bit on their own on these climate issues. So then it sucks the resources. So therefore, these regional cooperations are quite important. So here, when we think about the Balkan region, I mean, all these environmental problems, I mean, are actually part and parcel of the very similar sources, and that requires common resources as well. So for this reason, economic activities is not simply about, economic entrepreneurship and other forms of creating, resources. Also using the resources efficiently and effectively, and geography is part of that, as a problem and as a solution. So the other issue, we raised about the economic dimension a little bit is about the growth on the one hand, but austerity as well. So difficult future is expecting, the governments to take the problems responsibly, and the local authorities are really the end point where the problems are faced. So all these poverty issues, refugee issues, etc., in most cases, climate issues nationally, framed legally and otherwise, but the problem in the end experienced at the local level. So therefore, the future will be also about, using the resources, very scarce resources, in a very creative and clever ways, and cooperation is also important in that respect, and future, in that sense, requires some form of, new logic, economic logic, to have less resources, damage the environment, less, and in a way, this requires a network of trusts. This is quite important. So this whole Balkan cities networks, I mean, this is not a simple hierarchy or market relations, but it is survival, and better, really working requires some form of trust. So that's trust-based network. So this is a kind of, from economic sociology, I mean, we distinguish these networks on the basis of if they are hierarchy, if they are market-based, but it seems to be, I mean, Balkan networks, cities networks, based on the, really understanding of trust. So this is also an important issue. And on top of that, final issue we raised and we discussed a little bit in the lack of time, this wasn't really that much easy for us, but I'm sure, there will be a future, meetings on the sectoral basis as well. So there are concrete issues like tourism, like, really COVID recovery, especially in the sectors like tourism. So this requires not only simply Balkan cities networks in general, but maybe the individual cities could cooperate with each other on the basis of this kind of issues like tourism, and then, the crisis in the, really environment, climate change, refugee question, etc. This also requires rather small networks within networks. So cities could cooperate individually, but within the Balkan cities networks, I suppose. So the last point, I mean, really, I would like to make this point on my own. I mean, think about coronavirus. I mean, it acts as a network. It's a network disease. I mean, it travels the world. I mean, it's regionalized. It's regionalized in the sense that the last version comes from Africa. I mean, previously, India was the source. So it's not just the name. They first regionalize and they then act throughout the world. So here we are, clever human beings. I mean, much, really smarter, we suppose. We will see if we are. So therefore, these networks, these Balkan cities networks are also a duty and a task for all of us. So if viruses can do it, we can do it as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Tarık Şengül. I will be happy to hear the feedbacks from mayors in the next session. Last but not least, we will continue with Ms. Özen Tümer, who will share us outcomes of the session on urban democracy and migration. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay. Dear participants, dear guests from our Balkan region, it's really a pleasure to be with you today, here with you today, and I think this is a great opportunity for all of us to discuss all of these topics, and that's why I would like to really thank Mr. Mayor İmamoğlu and all the participant mayors and their technical delegations to be with us here and to try to address all the problems we are experiencing together as a region. So, under the Urban Democracy and Migration panel, we have started to discuss with urbanization. So urbanization as one of the most significant driving forces of recent global development. And indeed, if it's handled properly, urbanization has the potential to create opportunities, better life for all, and promote economic development. But if not handled properly, it may lead to inequality and rising exclusion, and it can disrupt the developments of the progress. So that's why the theme of inclusion is at the very heart of our discussion here. Inclusion in terms of access to basic services provided by the municipalities, access to essential infrastructure, water, wastewater services, public transportation, including the access of the most disadvantaged. And secondly, economic inclusion, to provide access to job opportunities, to enter to the labor market, to access to the income generating opportunities for all, so that urban residents have the opportunity to enjoy the economic growth altogether. And also another dimension we have discussed is social inclusion, providing access to equal rights and participation mechanisms for all, including the most marginalized one. So from here, we started to look on the migration side, because migration, whether internal or international, has always been one of the driving forces of urbanization. We discussed about the migrant profiles, migrants, economic migrants who are in search of better economic conditions, internal migrants from rural area to urban centers with their concerns with some climate concerns, with some economic concerns, but the most significant here as a topic of our discussion is the forced migration, refugees and internal displaced people, because they are the people which leave their country for the conflicts, war, violent situations. They have to leave their country, and at the end, we are the hosting countries. So we have discussed that the top migrant recipient countries in the Balkan region, but our Athens representative reminded us it is also important to take into account the proportion of the refugees and the host communities altogether, because the services should be designed accordingly, designed accordingly and delivered accordingly based on this ratio. So in terms of the infrastructure-related challenges, we have discussed the financial and operational challenges in terms of providing water, wastewater, urban transport, and solid waste services. So it's clear that we have to upgrade and expand the wastewater collection and treatment facilities and improve solid waste management systems, because they cause environmental and health risks before all. So public transport systems as well are quite stretched, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions with the reduced capacity the reduced capacity measures in the vehicles in some countries. So in order to ensure this inclusion of access to services and this infrastructure, the municipalities need for sure increased infrastructure investment. So we discussed how municipalities can collaborate, especially under this B40 network, to to respond to their financing needs. It's also critical here to discuss, to design inclusive infrastructure services and ensure the specific challenges of migrants taken into account and addressed properly when designing those services. So now that we are all aiming to achieve a greener future, low carbon investments and green technologies would better serve to sustainable cities, and this could be a good entry point for the region to collaborate. And also, we have discussed our hot topics are nowadays that how to get aligned with Paris goals and how to get aligned to the relevant EU directives when searching for some financing opportunities to design and deliver inclusive infrastructure for all. So, on the economic inclusion challenges, municipalities are in a good position to promote inclusive economy, where everyone participates and generates income. And I mean, in terms of paid employment or entrepreneurship opportunities. But while doing this, we have acknowledged that they need to address to multiple disadvantages of refugees. Thanks to our participants from Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality and again from the Istanbul Municipal Council, we have representatives from there, and they reminded us there might be some multiple disadvantages of refugees. For instance, women experiencing violence and harassment. How to promote their economic participation if they experience violence and harassment. So then we also need to discuss how to eliminate all of this, so that they are able to enter in a safer and a security environment in their in economic life. So another important aspect came as the municipalities, as institutions, in a good position to provide skilled and certified workers in the pool, in skill pool, for instance, in the area of tourism. So when we are talking about the future of work, we are always thinking the green skills and digital skills more and more needed in the labor market, in the local labor market. So it would be quite important to direct and promote refugees and migrants within this direction and providing them some skills development initiatives to promote their labor markets participation. So this approach is really important as it makes a clear shift from the understanding of social assistance, social aid in terms through some cash assistance mechanisms, because it brings up the social policy innovation. Social policy mechanisms are in place, not only providing them funds, but making proper policy mechanisms to promote more sustainable and inclusive societies. So when it comes to the social inclusion challenges, we have discussed the importance of city council, municipal assemblies, and similar participation mechanisms to ensure everyone's, including refugees' rights are represented and their voices are heard. So using the power of digital and ensuring participation for all through online tools are becoming increasingly effective and thus very innovative in the last decade, and this could be one area for collaboration in terms of sharing the best practices and role models within the region in this network. So last but not least, actually, our specific topic was migration, but we haven't forget to talk about the other underserved groups, disadvantaged groups. like women, young people, children, aging populations, people with disabilities, and especially Roma people in the Balkan region, who are in one of the majority of ethnic groups and are experiencing multiple disadvantages. So we have found out that we have came to the conclusion that what we really are discussing under this panel is this question actually: how peaceful coexistence would be possible, how we can live together in a peaceful context. So that was actually how we concluded it and heard different perspectives of the participating countries and cities. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Özen Tümer. And we will hear the feedbacks from the mayors in a minute, but before hearing the feedbacks, I have two brief notes. The boat trip that we planned to make just after the summit had to be cancelled because just after the summit I have to anchor the primetime news, so I thought that if I can just join the boat trip, if I just can't enjoy it, maybe you shouldn't as well. Everyone is too serious since it's the last session, I think. But no, the problem is that, as you all noticed, we have a really terrible weather conditions here in Istanbul. Really powerful storm hit Istanbul. That's why we had to cancel the boat trip, but we are waiting you again to our lovely city to enjoy the Bosphorus in a good weather. And another note is that for the same reason, we had to change the venue of our last night's dinner, which is gonna be on Ritz-Carlton Hotel rather than Ferrier restaurant. So for honorable mayors and guests that are invited for tonight's dinner, again, it's gonna be on Ritz-Carlton at 7 o'clock, so we hope to meet you again then. Now, let's go back to our feedback parts, the last sessions before the declaration. Now, we like to hear our honorable mayors to receive their feedback. First, on the outcomes of the technical sessions and also feedbacks about the summit in general. So this is totally optional. Any mayor who likes to share their ideas and contributions or ask questions to technical. So my dearest neighbor is the first one. So Mr. Puliak, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. So let me first thank all four speakers. I have carefully listened to what you said, and I'm pretty much amazed by the work that you did and by the clarity of your talks that you expressed what actually outcome of your sessions. And I will try to summarize all four sessions in one sentence about the B40 network. So this is my understanding of all four sessions. I try to do it in one sentence. So for the climate emergency, I think that the main message, at least it was for me, that the B40 should involve young generation as a main driving force to fight against the climate changes. And I think this is where we can search for the optimism. Climate change is one of the biggest challenges for the modern world. But we can look for we can be optimistic when looking to the young generations because they are much more aware of the problem than we are. And we have to involve them much more than we did in the past. So this is the first message. For the smart city and the digital transformation, I think that the B40 should be a pioneer in promoting new technologies. And when we had this session of presenting the companies, of Istanbul companies, and this nice presentation, that was really amazing. And I think that all our B40 cities should be inspired by Istanbul municipality and go in that direction. So then the third one is about economy, cooperation. And, I think that the main message for me is that the B40 is the trust-based network. And by being with you these 2 days, I think that we have a great chance to really establish the trust-based network between our cities. And the fourth one, which is the urban democracy and migration, and I think that the B40 should be a champion in inclusion of our citizens. I think that was the key word of the fourth part of your talks. So thank you very much again, and I'm really looking forward to continue to work with all of you.
Mayor Polyak, thank you so much for your great contributions. And then, would you mind pressing the button just in front of you so that I can just...
Okay. Δύο λόγια μόνο θέλω να πω, επειδή ακούστηκε εκτεταμένα το ζήτημα του μεταναστευτικού ζητήματος και ακούστηκαν σε αυτό.
Well, we've touched upon migration quite a lot, actually, during the discussions that we had. And we only talked about the rights of migrants, actually. We agree with that, but there's one thing that I'd like to add. On the island of Lesbos, I mean, from my municipality, there are people, migrants from Lesbos to Europe, and the damage that this cost for our island was actually quite high. Yes, we opened our arms to migrants, we opened our doors to migrants, no matter what. We did it on individual level, we did it on municipality level. And all the financial, economic, and social challenges remain even after they left the island. And unfortunately, it was somehow a defamation campaign on the side of Lesbos. Athens was actually proud of the assistance extended to migrants, but for the island of Lesbos and Mytilene, we've tried our best to help them. We've channeled many of the efforts towards them, but we lost many of the sources that we had, so we faced significant cost. We're trying to help them as much as possible, though. And one thing that I'd like to underline is that, unfortunately, migrants had a negative impact on our societies, and the rate of crime has risen after their arrival in the island. Their participation or involvement in crime, I can say that their participation is higher compared to other parts of society. Well, for sure, let's defend the rights of refugees and migrants, but as we do so, we should never, ever ignore the rights of our own residents. So as for our fight against migration, not only Greece should be responsible, all the countries in this world should assume responsibility.
Your contribution as Mytilene and Lesbos, as you referenced, facing irregular migration problems, you saw that your experience is quite crucial for us. Thank you so much. Recep Bey, basabilirseniz önünüzdeki butona. The floor is yours.
Evet.
Esteemed mayors, I'd like to greet you once again with respect. I'd like to pick up from where the island of Lesbos left, actually. As the esteemed mayor of Mytilene mentioned, migrants shouldn't be the sole responsibility of a single country, and this burden should be shared. And sharing a burden isn't only about allocating budgets so that certain parties only assume the responsibility, because such an approach would also corrode our belief in justice. Today, Turkey has its shortcomings for sure as for migration, but this is what Turkey has experienced. 6 million to 9 million is the approximate population that we're citing, and Istanbul is the hotbed of migration at the moment. In February, for example, in my city, by the way, the border of Greece, in 24 hours, 350,000 irregular migrants have actually arrived in my city. And my population of the city is only 200,000. So whatever you have in your kitchen, whatever you have in your pocket, you'd like to give to them, but it doesn't suffice. So such an organization isn't really possible to arrange in limited amount of time. So this is a significant problem for us, and this is a problem not for Turkey, but for the entire world. So the EU acting like I'm going to allocate money and you'll deal with the rest. And this approach should be gotten away with, should be eliminated. This has been a historical summit, actually. Mr. İmamoğlu, Mayor of Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, I'd like to thank him, and I'd like to thank everybody for their participation. As a child of the Balkan region, I'd like to express my gratitude, because since the day I was born, this was a gathering, coming together we've longed for. Maybe since the Balkan Pact, this has been the strongest coming together. And we have mayors who've been elected with the support of local communities, and all the mayors are together here. And this number will actually multiply in the coming days and years. We have myriad problems, but at the same time, we have a great strength. And I believe that we shouldn't be intimidated by these problems. I believe that we'll be stakeholders with one another rather than competitors, and will work to expand our spheres of influence, and will continue to support one another. Sharing is good. Sharing is something that makes one happy, that makes one feel enriched and stronger. And once again, I'd like to express my gratitude. And Marquez, I'd like to conclude my remarks with Marquez, a quote from Marquez. Poverty isn't finding an empty pocket when you have a look at it. It is about not really having a hand. So yesterday it was empty, but today we have the chance to hold many hands together. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, esteemed Mayor, for this great concluding remarks that you delivered.
Share their ideas about the overall summit as well, or their feedbacks about the technical sessions. Then maybe it is the most exciting part of the summit, because it's my privilege to make this announcement right now. Now it's come for reading the declaration. Honorable mayors, esteemed participants of international institutions and organizations, distinguished guests from home and abroad, dear guests, we have come to the moment of reading the declaration of B40 Balkan Cities Network. I want to leave the floor to the Honorable Mayor of Istanbul, Mr. Ekrem İmamoğlu, to read the declaration and then sign it first.
Ben deklarasyona geçmeden önce
Before moving on to the declaration, I also can see that our mayors are having some bilateral meetings around the hall, so I believe it is better if we invite them back before we read the declaration, so our team can go to invite them. And maybe if we have participants from the teams of these mayors, maybe they could support us in inviting these mayors back to our hall. So I would like to thank everyone for the technical presentations, and with the contribution of very valuable academicians, we had important technical activities. And of course, we will ensure that these meetings we had will turn into a record of some sort, and we will make sure that these records will be sent to all of our cities for the 29th and 30th of November. And this will be very valuable because Mr. Korkmaz, Mr. Tümer, and all of our participants had their presentations. And of course, all of the technical issues were very important. We talked about cooperation on climate action, smart cities and digital transformation, urban democracy and economic cooperation. And of course, these are very important topics. We have other important topics as well. And all these talks are very important for such participatory cities. And we managed to create a summary of all these sessions in this meeting. And we now have targets set for ourselves. And there were bilateral meetings which were very valuable. And I also tried to take part in almost all of these meetings. And after these bilateral meetings, of course, we are going to have a very important 1 year ahead of us. And first of all, as of today, Athens will start to prepare for our next meeting, and we will be looking forward to that. And I can already feel that it is going to be a very pleasurable meeting. And another topic, again, as Istanbul, we will take on the role of the secretariat of B40, and we will try to motivate all sorts of correspondence, and we will ensure that we have strong cooperation. And with a co-secretariat process, we will try to empower Athens and try to support them so that we can have another valuable meeting in Athens next year. And there is another dimension, I believe. We should be able to make a much more crowded participation in Athens. So the municipalities in their own countries or with their sister cities in other countries, they could expand this organization by strong invitations so we can be more powerful, bigger in number, and we can turn this into an extraordinary summit of local governments within the framework of the B40 network. And I hope we can achieve this in Athens. And there are also other cities who said that they are willing to take on the role of host in the upcoming years. So I believe they will also be in preparation. And hopefully in Athens, while we are announcing the next city who will host the organization, we will be creating a strong foundation for our future. So these were very nice sessions, and we exchanged very nice opinions. I believe this was a historic meeting on the 29th and 30th of November, and that's how life is. You know, someone initiates something and then it moves forward. So we initiated something very important, and I can already feel that we are going to be marking our name under significant activities in the future. The B40 network will be very good for the Balkans, and it will really add value to Europe as well. And I am also hoping that it will create a good preparation to set an example for the entire world. So I would like to read the declaration in English, and afterwards, of course, we will be signing the declaration one by one. My friends will be making announcements. And hopefully, we will then take a family photo with high spirits. And of course, I would like to thank our moderator, Ms. Duygu.
and she will probably be making the other announcements. A round of applause for Ms. Duygu, please. And the transfer offer from Athens, we haven't forgotten about that, but we haven't accepted it yet. We will consider it. We'll consider whether or not we will allow the transfer of Ms. Duygu. Whatever you say, Mr. Mayor. And at the end of the day, after the family photo, we will have 5 or 10 minutes together, because we couldn't be together in the morning. And we would like to invite all of you to the expo area of the affiliates of our municipality, so we could all feel that preparation they have made. And of course, all of our companies have also prepared documents about their activities, and these will be delivered to all of our participants. And I hope we will maintain robust communication through this as well. And then at 7 p.m. tonight, at a very nice venue of Istanbul. It had to be very close to our hotel, tonight's dinner venue. It was going to be by the Bosphorus. However, it's a very windy day, so we didn't want our event venue to create any sort of danger. So we will be hosting you at another hotel this evening for dinner. So this declaration, the draft of this declaration was sent to all mayors, and proposals were then collected. And after those proposals, we created this text. And again, all municipalities have already approved this declaration. So I will now be reading it, but basically it is a declaration that has been created with a common mind, a common approach, and I hope it will be auspicious for all of us and will bring beauty, peace, and success to all Balkan cities.
We, as the leaders of the local governments of the participating Balkan cities and the founders of the B40 Balkan Cities Network, being aware of the potential that sustainable development and peace present for the cities in our region, with a shared vision for a European future, aspiring to establish a fruitful cooperation in areas of common interest, knowing that climate change and other global challenges we face requires working together towards common solutions at local, regional, and global level. Recognizing that good governance requires a resilient, democratic, transparent, and inclusive local governance based on data, science, and shared wisdom for future cities. Emphasizing the critical importance of the localization of the new urban agenda and other international agreements and plans, particularly the Sustainable Development Goals. Under the framework of the B40 Balkan Cities Network, established at the Istanbul Summit, in line with the above-mentioned common values, we declare to work together through this network to strengthen the dialogue among our cities, cooperate in the fields of economy, culture, innovation, sustainability, and solidarity, develop new areas of cooperation focusing on reversing the effects of the climate change and strengthening local democracy and good neighborly relations in our region. Evaluate the difficulties encountered at the local and regional levels within the framework of reciprocity and dialogue in common platforms by sharing solutions and good practices with the parties. Contribute to the recommendation development process for decision makers at all levels. Assist in the planning of the network meetings and the specification of the meeting agendas in line with the annual priorities to be determined by the network members and participating in the meetings with mayors and technical personnel. Host and participate in the network meetings. Encourage participation of local communities through participatory activities. Provide support to the network secretariat. This is our declaration.
And now, as the host mayor of B40 Summit, Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu will sign the declaration. After that, we kindly ask honorable mayors around the table to sign the declaration as well. And also a brief note for distinguished press members. Our mayors will sign a symbolic declaration that you can see on the wall by one. So it's going to be easier for our press members to collect that moment. Thank you so much for your understanding. Right now, Mayor Bakoyannis signing the declaration, and Mayor Radojicic. Just after honorable mayor signed the declaration, we will have family photo, first with our honorable mayors and then with the delegation members as well. A quick reminder, just after finishing the summit, we are waiting our guests to our exhibition area for map showing and getting more information about Istanbul municipality's projects and companies. Mayor Recep Gürkan is signing the declaration right now. Let me remind my colleagues, distinguished press members, that our mayors will also sign the declaration on the wall that you can see right now, just after finishing signing declaration around the table. While our distinguished mayors signing the declaration, I want to remind all our guests that just after the summit finishes, we will waiting you on our exhibition area to hear more about the projects of the Istanbul municipality. Once again, a quick reminder, just after taking the family photo with our mayors and then with the delegation members, we are waiting our mayors to visit our exhibition area and map showing area. We will have a 10 minutes long visit together to hear more about the projects of Istanbul municipality. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, now we are kindly inviting our mayors to once again sign the declaration on the wall so that our press members, as a symbolic declaration, and then to the platform for family photo, first with honorable mayors and then with all the delegation members.
Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Sağ olun.
What time are the news? You have to be on.
Dear guests, we inviting our honorable mayors to the platform for family photo. Just after that, we will have another photo with our delegation members. Thank you so much for your understanding.